Hi guys, welcome back. So in this video we're going to create bump maps for our object, and I might cover a little bit of generating normal maps as well, which are sort of similar to bump maps. So I just want to kind of go over a little bit of theory first, just kind of explain to you what bump maps are and what they do, and then what we'll do is create bump maps for our can and our model. So basically what I've done to kind of demonstrate the effect of a bump map is I've drawn up this chart. So what I've got here are different strips of color, and as you can see the strips get darker and darker and darker, and they go from pure white on the left hand side all the way down to pure black on the right hand side. Okay, so I've got the strips along the top have hard edges on them, and the strips along the bottom I have put a soft edge on them like this. And the numbers underneath basically are indicating the percentage of grey added to the strips. So if you come across to the swatches in Photoshop, you'll find a whole range of these grayscale swatches. And so you've got white, which is this one here, and then there's a 10% grey, and that's the next one, and then there's a 15% grey, but I've skipped that, and then there's a 20% grey, and that's the next swatch. So what I've done is just basically coloured each of the swatches with these colours running along here. Now they haven't kept all of these swatches together. Normally the swatch panel is normally roughly about this position here, so I have mine a little bit wider sometimes so I can read the layer titles, but usually these would sort of be all underneath one another. In this version they've added in a lot more of these grayscale swatches. I do believe in older versions of this software they just used to go up incrementally by tens, but in this one they sort of go up by sort of fives. That's 5% of the time. So all I've done is just put in sort of the 10. So basically pure white, 10% grey, 20% grey, and so on. Now you'll notice here 50% grey, there's no swatch. There actually is, but 50% grey is also the background colour of this image, which is why you can't see the swatch. It's the same colour. So generally speaking, 50% grey is sort of our neutral level. Okay, you can kind of think of it in terms of it being sea level. And so everything that's paler or lighter than 50% grey is basically going to push up out of the surface, or look like it's pushing up out of the surface of the model. So that's kind of like an island popping out of the sea. Alright, so we've got sea level here. So anything that's whiter than sea level basically is like an island sticking up. And anything darker than sea level is basically going down towards the ocean floor per se. So the darker the section of the image is, the deeper it pushes into the surface of the material. Now this is purely an optical illusion that the software sets up. It doesn't physically change the shape of the model when you put the bump map onto it. It's tricking the lighting and the camera into rendering more detail on the model than there is. So let's have a look at this image loaded onto a 3D model in Maya. Here we go. So what I've got here is just a cube, a regular standard cube, and what I've done just for the purposes of this little demo, I've created just a UV template set for it that basically just fills up the whole of the template. So this is all 6 sides of the cube laid on top of one another, filling the entire UV coordinate for this object. Okay, so you can see here at the moment that basically nothing's visible. I've got a little light up here. This is just a point light that I can move around. Okay, but otherwise it's just a standard polygon cube. Now just here you can see that I've got the textures switched on like that, and nothing shows up. Okay, I've then also got lighting turned on so that this light is what's illuminating the object, and I've got shadows switched on for that light as well. So inside this little renderer menu, I've got these three options, and I've just broken that menu off just as a little panel here, just so I can switch this on and off more easily. So if we switch to either high quality rendering or viewpoint 2.0, which is the one that I'm going to use, it will also, not only will it display the color of the model, at the moment there isn't any, but it'll also display any bump maps applied. So when I switch this on, it shows you the bump map that I've got loaded into the model's texture. And we can see here that it's actually affecting the object in different ways. So as I was saying before, that 50% level on the Photoshop image is sort of like sea level. It's kind of neutral. Okay, anything darker than 50% is going to push into the model, and that's what's occurring with these. So you can see here with the light source just here, like this, these slots, these swatches are getting deeper and deeper and deeper down to this level here. So this one here looks deeper than all the others. Likewise, at this end, pure white, this looks like it's popping out of the surface a lot more. Then this one's a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less, and so on until you get back to 50% where there's no change at all. Now this is a lot more pronounced with the rounded off, kind of soft edge swatches than it is with these flat edge swatches. Okay, although you can see that these are popping out of the surface of the model, and these are pushed into the surface of the model. So this is what a bump map does. So we can use a bump map as a way of adding extra detail to our models without actually physically modeling that detail into the structure. We can just apply the details as an image and still make it look like it's sort of a three-dimensional detail. So that's what we're going to be doing with our can, and we'll also maybe we'll do some on the bottle as well. So I'm going to jump back over to Photoshop, and I'll just close off this picture, and we'll jump into our labels. So I'm going to start off with the can again in this video, and we'll do a little bit of the can, and we'll also do a bit of the bottle as well. So the first thing I'm going to do with the can is create the area on the top of the can that the ring pull sits in. That's the main bumped sort of detailed section. You can see here on this reference picture, basically we've got this sort of, it's not quite a teardrop shape, but essentially what we're going to do is create an image that looks a bit like this. And then we also want to create like a little kind of groove bit at the end here, and maybe a sort of an indented kind of shape just here as well. So we've got a few different sections to make for that. So I'm going to start off, I've just got that image off to the side so I can refer back to it. So the first thing I want to do basically is turn off the color layer just here, and that's for the whole object. So I've just got this black background again. I'm going to, just for the minute, actually what I'll do is just select the background layer, and I'll just go full screen on this and turn on my template again, so that way I know whereabouts in the image I've got to work. So basically all we're doing is just working in here. Now I've got this center line coming down the middle of the template, and what I want to do is come up to view rulers and turn those on if you haven't already got them switched on. And what that does, it puts a ruler here at the side and a ruler here at the top. What I'm going to do is grab the side ruler, just click and drag on the ruler and drag into your document, and that will bring a guide out. And what I want to do is put it right on that middle line like that, and it'll put this little blue line on there. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is create, what I might do is actually drag this image in so I can view it here. What I'm going to do, I'll just shrink this so we can see it. Okay, basically what we're going to do is create this shape just here. So let's start off. I'm going to use the pen tool for this. So just click on the pen tool, And starting sort of just up here, just under the top of the ring, or the edge of the template, this circle, I'm going to click and hold with the left mouse button, and then hold shift and then drag out to the right like this, just a little way. And then I'm going to come down about here, and I'm going to click and drag like this, and it's going to drop a curve in, which you can see just in here. Now at the moment this tool is still up here set to shape layers, and that's fine. Okay, it's going to fill the shape in automatically. So then, following this anchor line that I've got here, just kind of following that down to about here, okay, I'm going to click and drag again, like this. Now, I don't want to do this, okay, I want to try and keep this anchor that I'm dragging kind of level with the line that it's kind of at the end of, alright, about there. So you can see that that anchor follows straight up onto that anchor there. Then I'm going to come right down here towards the bottom, and once again I'm going to be about the same distance as this point is from the top. I'm going to do the same thing but at the bottom like this. I'm going to click and hold down the shift key and then drag to the right this time, and I'm going to keep dragging until that bottom curve is sort of almost like a quarter circle like that. So I'm getting this nice circular curve in here, same as what I've got at the top, okay, but just bigger. Okay, alright, so then what I want to do is just click once on the first point, and you can see a little circle on the cursor, and that just closes the shape like that. Now you'll see that we kind of get this kind of odd bulge that's popping out. The reason for that is that when I drag the anchors out at the top and bottom, there are two anchors on each point that you click, okay, one either side. What I need to do now is edit the anchors on this side. So to do that, I click on the pen tool and I hold, and at the bottom there's a convert point tool which I select. Now you'll notice that when you don't have any of the I'll just turn the outline off for this. We don't have any anchors selected, so what I'm getting is this white arrow tool, and that's like a selection tool. What I want to do is just click on this section of the curve that's bulging out, and it will highlight or activate the anchor at the top and the bottom. And all I do is, when you move your cursor across the little anchor handle at the end, it turns into that little convert tool, and all you do is drag that down and stick it onto that guide like that, and then you do the same at the bottom, drag that one up, and that just straightens that edge off. And then turn the tool off. You can just go to marquee mode or move tool if you want. Okay, so the next bit that we want to do is basically duplicate this this shape here within the shape layer that it's in. Okay, basically what I want to do is copy it and flip it so that it's an entire shape. So I'm going to come over across to the arrow tool. Now that's a direct selection tool, and what we want is the path selection tool, this black one, okay, this black arrow just here. And I'm going to click on the path that's around the outside of the shape we just made, and you can see the little points appear. It's a little bit difficult to see on the recording, but you'll see a very faint grey line, which is the path that you just created, and you'll see the little points on it as well. Alright, so what we do is, if you hold down the Alt key, you get a little plus next to your cursor, and what you do is you just click and just move the path to the left like this. Now at this point what you can do is actually hold shift down as well, and it will keep the movement only horizontal like that. So now we've got two paths. Now it's not duplicating the layer, what it's doing is duplicating the path within this shape. Now it's still selected, and what I can do is go edit free transform, or actually you can go free transform path, there it is. It's the same as free transform, okay, and you get this up like this. If you right click in here, you can hit flip horizontal and it will reverse the path. Then all you do is click and hold, then hold shift down and drag to the left until the path snaps to the guide, and then just press enter. Okay, So that's got both. That's got the path in the right spot. Now what I want to do is select both of the paths and combine them together. So I'm going to hold Shift and click on the other path, and you can see the little anchors appear for it. And then what you do is make sure that your Add to Shape Area option is highlighted just here, and then press Combine. And what that'll do is join the two paths together and form a single path. And then you can go, you can probably go View, Hide Guides. Whereabouts is it? There it is there. So you go down to Show Guides, which is Control semicolon. Okay, and there's your shape. I'll just turn this on for a second. And what I want to do is change this color for this section to a slightly darker than 50% grey. So probably about a 60-70% grey, maybe an 80%. So to do that, I double click on the color swatch for that shape layer, and it'll bring the color picker up. Now what I can do, you can see when you move the cursor off the panel here, it gives you an eyedropper. You can click anywhere on the interface and it will select the color you pick on. What I want to do is come across to swatches, and I want to get about 70 to 80% grey, I would suggest, which is going to be one of these sort of mid-black colors just here. So I might go with this one. Now I don't want to go completely black because there's a little groove that goes in at the top here, which is deeper than this one on the model. So I have to have a darker color for that than the one that I'm going to use at the moment. So I'm going to go probably about that dark, and then just press Enter or OK. Alright, so that's the first part of the bump map. So the second part, we do the same thing again on a new shape layer, but this time we just create a little groove, and that's if you can see here on the just here on the image, it's this little kind of banana shaped groove here at the top. So we're just going to create that shape. I might zoom in again for this, and I'll turn the guides back on under View, Show Guides, and I'll grab the pen tool again. So pen tool's just there. Alright, so I'm going to start off just here. Now you can see here my cursor it has this X on it, and that's because this current layer is selected. So I don't want to do that. If I try and draw this shape now, it's going to remove it from the other shape. So down here in the layers, I'm just going to click in an empty spot like this, and I should hopefully, oops, I'm hoping I can, yeah, there we go. It's doing a new layer, so we should be okay to just start drawing that shape in. So I'm going to start sort of at the same spot I did last time. I'm going to click and drag with Shift held down, and I'm going to drag to the right here like this. And then I'm going to follow the shape, this grey shape around to about here, and I'm going to click and drag there a little bit. I'm not too far, all right, but I want the curve to kind of follow the shape of that grey. Then I'm going to click just sort of in here and just drag out a little bit, but now I'm dragging left, and then back up here on the actual guide. Click and hold down Shift, and then drag like that. And what you'll get is this sort of half banana shape. And then same as before, click on the first point just to close the shape, and then pop down to your pen tool again, grab Convert, click on the curve just here, and then just drag both of those anchors back to the guide like this. Okay, path selection tool, click on the path like this, hold down hold down Alt, then click and hold Shift, just drag it across a little bit like this, then go to Edit, Transform Path, right click, select Flip Horizontal, and then hold down the left mouse button on the object and Shift and drag it across until it hits the guide like that, and then press Enter to lock that change in, and then hold down Shift and click on the other path, the original path again, So they're both selected. And then come up to combine and join them together like that. So then what we're going to do is change the color of this one to black, basically. So we just double click here in the color panel for the layer and then select black from the swatches and then hit OK. And I'll just bring this down just here. Okay, so the only other thing that I need to do now is just create a background color for the bump map. There really is no other sections of bump that we need per se. We might maybe just do this one here very quickly, seeing as we've got the we've sort of got the reference image. So I'm looking at sort of this little indentation just here. So basically with that one, same thing again. I'll just deselect the layer, grab the pen tool, whoops, and let's see how this goes. So I'm going to start about here. So the ring pull is going to be in here, basically. So maybe about a third of the way from the bottom. Click and hold Shift, drag that out. Come around to about here, like this. So all I'm doing is just clicking and dragging in the direction that I'm moving in, like this. Close that end up. And then what we can do here is just kind of clean this up a bit. I've got the direct selection tool. So you can click on a section of the curve and you can then drag it to reshape it like this. See, that's a little bit too sharp. What I might do is bring this whole curve section in here like this. But you have to be careful with the way that the oops, just undo that for a second. Just using the undo command there. Oops. So you can see what's happening there is basically it's kind of ballooning out. So to fix that, what I need to do is go back to the pen tool and go to the convert point and then just click and drag on that point like that, and that'll basically kind of round it out again, and then I can go and grab that selection tool. So I want something along those lines, and then I'll just convert the this sort of inner edge, just kind of flatten that off again, and then I'll grab my direct my path selection tool. Just click on the entire path, hold down Alt, Shift, click and drag a little bit, and then go to Edit, Transform Path, Free Transform Path that is. Right click on it, hit flip horizontal, like that, and then just bring that across. Enter to lock that change in, hold Shift, and click on the original piece, and then combine the two. Okay, so this section's like way bigger than I need it to be. Okay, you can see in here it should be maybe at most about half the width of the overall shape. So this basically needs to all get shrunk in a little bit. I'm also going to just grab this point here and just drag it down a little bit. Oops, now I have to be careful not to have the whole thing selected. There we go, just that one. I just wanted that to round off a little bit more. Now I've just kind of messed that up a little bit by dragging those out one by one. So technically what I could do to fix that is go back to the convert point tool, click on this point, you can see it kind of resets it, and as long as I hold down the shift button, keep the left mouse button held down and hold shift down, I can kind of re-drag it out and it basically rebalances it again. So it's going to be something along those lines. It's not an exact shape. You know, you can kind of play around with this and kind of get it as perfect as you like. Okay, so what I'm going to do is basically grab the path selection tool, select the entire path and then convert it. So edit, free transform path, and then holding down Shift and the Alt key, I'm going to grab a corner and just drag it in like this. And I'm also going to maybe, well, let's see, probably about there. So I just, really this here should be almost round, this section. This kind of bit kind of fits around the bottom of the ring pull. So something along those lines, and then I'll just hit enter. Now with this shape, what I want to do is have it actually blending from this background color here to a darker color at the top. So this bit here is deeper than the bottom. So what I need to do is color pick this color. So grab the eyedropper and just select this background gray. And then what I want to do is make a darker color gray for the background. So what I'll do is I'll click on this green background swatch, and then I will click on the first color, and that'll give me the same thing there, and then I can just drag this down and make it darker like that, and then hit OK. And what I want to do is fill this in with that color gradient there. So let's see, one way I can do that is if I double click here on the shape, I can come down to gradient overlay, and you can see there that it fills this in with a gradient. If I click on the word gradient overlay, I can get into the settings for that. And basically what I want to do is select these two as my colors. So if I click on the gradient swatch, the first option up here is taking the colors from the foreground, background colors. So I can just click on that, and you can see that it changes over here. Now what I want to do is actually reverse these around. So I don't want it going grey to black, I want it going black to grey, because you can see that's kind of set up here already. Actually, no, sorry, that's actually right. No, that's my mistake. It's actually set up the way I want it. I want the top half darker than the bottom half. So I'll just press OK on that. What I do want to do is actually reduce the scale of this. So what I can do is drop the scale down, and you can see that it tightens the gradient up a little bit. And if you click and drag down here, you can see you can get this little move arrow, and you can actually position it like this. So what I want to do is position it so it's sort of, the dark areas are really just at the two kind of pointy bits at the top, like this. Okay, now with I think with this one, what I might do is actually slightly adjust the color at the bottom of the gradient. I might make it slightly darker. So I'm going to click on the gradient swatch again, just come down into here, click on this one, just there, and then click here on the color thumbnail, the little swatch, and I'm just going to drag this down a little bit. Okay, I don't want to go too far. You can see here, okay, I don't want, I want this to be slightly darker than this, but not by much. Okay, so you can see that there, that's now slightly darker. It's not as dark as this, but it's slightly darker than the rest. So you can just kind of tweak that. Just hit OK, and then OK. So the other thing I want to do is kind of create a little, like a little bevel on this. So what I'm going to do is come up to Inner Glow, just here. I'll click on that, and you can see it puts this little sort of inner rim on this. But it always defaults to this yellow color, which I don't want, because it needs to kind of match the colors around it. So I'm going to go blend mode, set that to normal, set opacity to 100%, and then I'm going to switch it to this gradient. Okay, and what I want to do is take the let's see, I'm just going to take the foreground background color for a second. Yes, I think I might take that gradient color there. Okay, now the first one, this one, the one at the end here, I'm going to click at the top box, and that's the opacity. So the little top indicator is opacity, the bottom one is the color. What I want to do is set the opacity of that to 0. Okay, and I want to set the color for it to the same color as the background, this medium gray. And then over here I want to do the same thing. This one gets set to that medium, let's see. No, I think I'll leave that set to this gray just here, which is this one. And that should be at 100% for the opacity on the top one. like that. In fact, this one here, this color one, I'm going to drop, brighten that a little bit. Okay, there we go. So what that's doing is giving me this little fringe. Like that. So just press OK on both of those. And then what we'll do is adjust the size. And the technique, I want this to be set to precise. And what that's going to do is actually grow that from directly from the edge rather than kind of averaging it out. So it's going to be the same width all the way around. Okay, so you want to make it about that big. So if I turn that off, turn the outline off, and then deselect the layer, you can see we get this little edge running around it, like that. Okay, so we drag this one down underneath the under the outline layer as well. I'll just turn that up. So we've got the outline layer there. Okay, so that's basically our bump map. So I'm going to take those three layers and I'm going to group them together, layer, group layers, and I'm going to call that bump. So B-U-M-P. I'm just going to turn off that reference image for a second. Okay, so the only other things that I need to do, is create a background color for all of these. And that's just going to be 50% grey. So, that's going to be for, basically that's going to be for the whole image. So what I'm going to do is create a new layer, like that, and that layer is inside this bump group as well. And I'm going to grab my 50% grey colour, which is this one just here, 50% grey, and grab the paint bucket tool and just fill the entire image. This then has to go underneath those three shape layers that we made, like that, so we end up with this. And if we take a look, it's going to look something like that. Now the only other thing that I need to do is basically add another kind of inset little inner glow like this one onto this shape. So what I'm going to do is grab the that little jelly bean shape there. I'm going to right click on the layer for it and hit copy layer style, and then come down to the first shape we made, which is this big teardrop. Right click on that and go paste layer style. Alright, and then I double click on the little FX button there on the layer, and I want to turn off the gradient overlay because I don't want it going black to grey. I just want it the same color grey all over. And that you can see that little gradient inner glow is very faint. So I'm going to go to the inner glow, click on here, and what I want to do is just kind of adjust the lightness value of this image here. So what I'm going to do is at this end, okay, this is sort of the upper surface, I want to change this grey colour to the background colour here, like this. And you can see that it's gone a lot brighter now. I'll just press OK. And then this colour, just here, I'm going to click on that and I'm going to set that to this inner colour. Actually, I might set it to the same grey. Yeah, I'll set it to the same grey as the outside. So both of these grey colours are the same, but this one's at 0% opacity. And then just press OK. And then OK all of that. Alright, so that's basically, that's the sort of the first part of the bump map for the can. Okay, we've got a tiny little bit more to go. We need to just add some text. If you want some text on here that runs around the outside edge, we can add some of that. I'll kind of run through that process in the next video. But if you don't want text on, basically you can kind of skip the next video. So I'll leave this one here and I will see you next time.